Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. To the Torah, Shaziyash, Allah, give him a course. All honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Mashah, Malak, Yahweh Shai. It's all praises, honor, glorification unto the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of His Son, Mahashiach, Malak, Yahweh Shai. Right? Shalom, shalom. I'm going to get straight into this through the Spirit, right? Let's go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 24, and verse number 17, right? It says, rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth, lest the Lord see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. So in the scriptures, you will kind of find out that there's actually, just like how there's actually two types of strangers, just like how there's actually two types of Gentiles, sometimes even two types of heathen, right? You do actually have two types of enemies found within the scriptures, right? Let's go to the book of Matthew, right? And I bring this up because the Lord right here, hold on, let me go back to this, right? The Lord right here in Proverbs 24, verses 17 through 18, he's saying that you cannot, right? Do not rejoice when your enemy falls. Don't let your heart be glad when he stumbles, unless the Lord will see it, and he will be displeased, and he will turn away his wrath from him, and he will turn his wrath towards you, right? Now, let's go to the book of Sirach real quick, right? Let's go to Sirach. Now, when we go to Sirach chapter 25, a man without understanding would read this, and he will say that this is a seemingly contradictory scripture, right? Let's go to Sirach chapter 25, verse 7. There be 9 hearts, slocking 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. So the Lord, right, said that there is literally a man will be happy if he has joy of his children, first of all, right? Of course, it's evident. But he also that lives to see the fall of his enemy, right? And the Lord is saying that that man would be happy when he sees the fall of his enemy. Now, hold up now. The Lord said in the book of Proverbs, which is one of the books of wisdom, right, that we should not, right, be glad when our enemy falls. But when we go to Sirach, chapter 25, verse 7, it says that a man that liveth to see the fall of his enemy, right, is going to be glad in his heart. So, which one is it? Should we be happy, or should we not be happy when we see our enemy fall? That shows you that there's two types of enemies, right? Now, one type of enemy in the scriptures, right? When you go to Matthew chapter, let's go to Nehemiah. Actually, let's go to Nehemiah. Let's get one of the enemies of Israel, right, in the scriptures, right? Let's go to Nehemiah 5 and 9. Also, I said, it is not good that ye do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of our God because of the reproach of the heathen or our enemies? So Nehemiah clearly addresses the heathen, which is the other nations in this case, right? The actual ethnic heathen are enemies, right? He clearly addresses that. That's point blank, period, plain upon tables, right? Now, let's go to Psalms chapter 82, so like 83, right? Let's go to Psalms 83. Right, and it started verse 1. It says, keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So the Lord, so this is Asaph, and he's talking to the Lord, right? And he's saying that the Lord has enemies. It says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult. Now, the enemies in the Most High God would essentially be the enemies of Israel as well, right? In this case, especially, because even when you go down to verse 6 on down, it will show you the enemies of the Lord, right? It says the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes. So it goes down and lists certain heathenistic nations, showing you that the heathen are not only the enemies of Israel, but the enemies of the Most High God, right? Now let's go to Deuteronomy, right? Let's get another one, showing you that the enemies of Israel, your enemy, if you're an Israelite, your enemy is the heathen. All right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So who are these people that persecuted the nation of Israel? Who are these people that hate the nation of Israel? Who are these people, right? It's talking about the heathen, right? The other nations, they hate and despise the nation of Israel, right? But the Lord is going to put these curses, he's going to flip the curse, right? Instead of him cursing his people, he's going to put the curses on these other nations, right? So that shows you that the heathen are our enemies as a whole and as a collective. Now, but when you go, right, there's another type of enemy though, because let's go to the book of Exodus, all right, chapter 23. Let's go back to the law, right? Actually, first we before we get that, let's go to the book of Matthew, because Christians like to run here, right? To say, oh, you gotta love Esau, you gotta love all people, you gotta love all nations, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. Ye have heard that it have been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy, right? That's in the law, right? Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 16 on down, right? And hate thine enemy, right? You should hate your enemy. Verse 44. In this case, that enemy is talking about who? The heathen, right? Verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies. So the Lord is saying, love your enemies, right? Bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust, right? So the Lord is saying that we should love our enemies, right? And bless them that curse us, right? Do good to them that hate you. Do good to those that treat you evilly, right? And wickedly, right? So what is this talking about? Is the Lord contradicting the Old Testament, right? Is the Lord doing his own thing and just saying creating this whole new doctrine, right? And is contradicting the Old Testament? No, right? All he's doing, he's going back to the law. He's re-emphasizing the law, right? Let's go to Exodus chapter 23. Because remember, within the nation of Israel, you might have a certain man that you're not you're enemy with. You have enemies within your own nation. All right, let's not get that twisted. All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 23, verse 4. Right, it says, if thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. So that's in the law, man, and that's love. If you see a brother's ox, right? Remember, this brother, you and him, right? Y'all have problems, right? Maybe you had a problem before, and y'all just do not get along. That's your enemy, right? That's your enemy. You love them, but you just y'all don't get along, right? That's it's whatever. That's bound to happen, right? It says but the law states that you still must love this brother, and if you see even if you might be your enemy, if you see his ox or his ass going astray, you have to bring it back to him again. You can't just let the ox or that donkey, which is the ass, go astray like that, because you be like f that dude, bruh. F that dude. He said this and that, right? I know that's his donkey. I know that's his ox going over there, going astray into the road, but I don't care, right? That's my enemy. No, the law states that you must love your brother. And how do you love your brother? By keeping the commandments, right? Verse 5, and if thou see the ass of him that hateth thee, you see that? Even if this man might hate you, you still have to help him. Lying under his burden, and what is forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him. All right? Let's go to the book of 2 Samuel. So you have to help him, man. Right? Let's go to the book of 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 8. And they brought the head of Ishbosheth unto David to Hebron, and says to the king, behold, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life, and the Lord hath avenged my lord, the king, this day of Saul and of his seed. So, literally, David's enemy was who? Saul, right? When you read the book of 1 Samuel, you could clearly see that. Saul hated Samuel, and Saul hated David, and it was really just because of that envy. That goes back to Proverbs as well. Proverbs chapter 6, because it states that jealousy is the rage of man. So, because of his jealousy, his pride, and his envy, the judgment of Saul was clouded. And he sought after David's life plenty of times. Now, David, he did not hate Saul, but Saul was envious toward David. Therefore, Saul, despised David in his soul, in his spirit, right? So literally, and they had scuffles between each other. So this man is referring to David's enemy as who? Saul. So you do have enemies within your own nation. All right. You're not going to get along with every single Israelite in the whole entire universe. Okay. Because certain spirits just do not go together. Right. Some spirits just do not go together. You might have a problem with a brother or a sister, and the Lord, kind of in the New Testament, under Yahweh, right, the Lord comes with that compassion, more of that compassion and love, right, and harps on that a little bit more. But nevertheless, you still might have an enemy of your own nation, right? So those are the two types of enemies. I didn't want to make this too long, just short, sweet. Those are the two types of enemies within the scriptures. It's clearly demonstrated, but you have to go precept upon precept, as it states in the book of Isaiah, chapter 28, and verse 10 on down, right, in order to get that proper understanding. Because if you just read the book, if you just read, the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and you're not linking it up with the precepts to try to understand it, you're not going to understand, right? So, with that, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Mashak, Malaki, Abishah. Lord willing, this is edifying. Brother Yashala, Shalom.